With the NFL wrapping up this weekend and the Super Bowl set to be played on Sunday, it's time to start looking at different sports from around the world. So let's start this week by looking at the UEFA Women's Champions League, which saw their final group stage games being played last week and the quarter-final draw take place today. Coming into the tournament, Barcelona was seen by many as the favourite to win. Having won the tournament last year, they currently have arguably the two best players in the world with Bonmatí and Putellas, the two most recent Ballon d'Or winners. Last season, Barcelona had a 62-game winning streak in their domestic league come to an end in May after a 1-1 draw with Seville. They were set to have another impressive win streak across all competitions this season. They started off their Champions League defence in impressive fashion at home against Portuguese champions Benfica with a 5-0 thrashing. They continued this dominance throughout the group stage with two incredible games against Rosenborg, finishing 0-6 and 7-0 respectively. But then, a shock to many, their run of dominance came to a halt in the final game of the group stage with a 4-4 draw against Benfica. Barcelona had started out the game like so many before, taking a 2-0 lead early on, only to let Benfica fight their way back and even take a 4-3 lead. But losing a winning streak after 23 games is one thing, losing a game is a whole other thing for Barcelona. And so inevitably, they equalised in the 96th minute to finish the group stage undefeated once again. The other team to advance from Group A might have come as a bit of a surprise to some, as it was Benfica who had the honour of finishing behind Barcelona in second. They won all of their home games apart from the aforementioned one against Barcelona, and tied all of their away games, but for the 5-0 loss against Barcelona. That tie with Barcelona proved that Benfica can hang with just about anyone at this point in the tournament, and that they're a team that should be taken seriously throughout the knockout stage. They will also be proud to be the first Portuguese team to advance to the knockout stage of the UEFA Women's Champions League. The other favourite for the title this season was seeded into Group B. Lyon had a little bit of a more tumultuous road to the knockout stages than Barcelona had, only finishing 1 point ahead of second place Brann. Lyon tied their final game against Slavia Prague, and where Benfica Barcelona was just a great game between two evenly matched teams, Lyon was kind of sloppy in this one, not taking most of the chances that they created in a game they really should have won. So it was almost deserved that Slavia tied up the game in the 91st minute on the back of some great defending throughout. It does have to be noted though that like Barcelona in their final game, Lyon was resting some of their usual starters. Lyon will be hoping that Hegerberg will be back to her incredible form that saw her scoring in 10 consecutive games prior to the game against Slavia. Brann, on the other hand, who finished in second, lost one game to Lyon and tied one with them, but took care of business in all their other games. They didn't have some of the incredible scorelines that Lyon had, who won 0-9 and 0-7 against 3rd and 4th place Prague and Polten respectively, but Brann will be happy to be moving on to the knockout stage, having never made the final 16 in any UEFA Women's Champions League format in the past. They will be hoping for a favourable draw to advance even further. Group C was by far the closest group in this year's Champions League. On the final match day, all teams could still advance in any order. PSG, Ajax, Roma and Bayern all still had a shot. Roma opened the scoring in Amsterdam, meaning that they would likely be through. Ajax then equalised just before half, and things would really start ramping up in the second half. In the 75th minute, Bayern took a lead against PSG. Ajax was still tied with Roma, and so this result would see Bayern and PSG both advance to the next round. Ajax then ended up scoring in the 84th minute. Technically, this was an own goal, but nobody in Amsterdam seemed to care as the Johan Cruyff Arena exploded. This changed the script to see Ajax advance as group leaders, while Bayern would go through in second place. Then we had one more twist to the tale as Stanway scored an own goal in the 88th minute to shuffle the teams around once again and have PSG advance as group leaders and Ajax advance as the second team. This was by far the most fun group to watch throughout the group stage of the UWCL. PSG ended up as the group leader, but none of the teams were truly dominant. PSG only finished ahead of Ajax in goal difference and failed to beat Bayern throughout the group stage, having both games finished 2-2 against them. PSG is still a force to be reckoned with moving on though, and it will be exciting to see how they will fare in the knockout stages. Ajax, meanwhile, is arguably the biggest surprise to be moving on to the next round. They became the first Dutch team to reach the group stage since the restructuring of the UWCL and were in a group with 3 of last year's quarter-finalists. However, they took care of business in all of their home games, winning every single one of them in the Johan Cruyff Arena. However, they seem to be very beatable on the road, getting only one singular point against Bayern, while losing at Roma and PSG. It remains to be seen if their Cinderella run can continue into the knockout stage. Whoever they will be facing, they will be hoping that they can once again take care of business at home. Chelsea is the last of her group winners. They went undefeated in their group, only getting a tie on their first match day against Real Madrid and a tie against second place Haken in their third game. But their other games were quite convincing, finishing with a 10-point goal differential overall. Going forward, Chelsea will have to be without their main goal-scoring threat in Sam Kerr, who suffered an ACL injury ending her season early, with her final game being the 3-1 win against Haken on December 20th. But Chelsea still seems to be able to score freely, winning their final game of the group stage 4-0 against Paris FC, a team Kerr had previously scored a hat-trick against. Haken, meanwhile, is the second team to advance from this group, notably performing better on the road than at home. They'll be happy to be advancing to their first quarter-final since the 2012-2013 season. Haken controlled their own fate in the final game of the group stage, being guaranteed of going through with a win. Despite not needing to win anymore due to Chelsea's dominance against Paris FC in this final game, this goal in the 63rd minute would ensure that they finish the group stage on a high note as they look toward the knockout stage. So let's take a look at the results from today's draw for the quarterfinals. Ajax will be the first team to host a quarterfinal game this season. It's already the furthest that a team has ever made it in the UWCL, and they will be looking to continue their home form from the group stage against Chelsea to take an aggregate lead into London. As mentioned, Chelsea will be without Kerr, who will not be able to score goals like this for Chelsea in the knockout stages. But Chelsea arguably still have the quality advantage over Ajax, despite missing their star striker, who is still the joint top scorer of this campaign with 5 goals so far. Then, later that same night, Benfica will host Lyon. Benfica proved against Barcelona that they can hang with just about anyone, but will need to be on top of their game, like they were against Barcelona, to have any hope against the ever-dominant Lyon. Being the first Portuguese team to advance to the knockout stages, they should already see this as a highly successful season. Lyon, meanwhile, will be expecting to move on to the next round, but can't afford to look past Benfica, or something like their game against Slavia may happen again. I'd say Haken hosting PSG will be the closest matchup of the quarterfinals. PSG had 1 point less than Haken in their group stage, despite finishing as a group winner. As mentioned, there was not one truly dominant team in Group C. PSG were already upset this season away at Ajax, losing 2-0. So could we see something like this happen again? And could Haken then see out this lead against PSG? I know I'll be watching this matchup with great interest for sure. The last of our quarterfinal matchups is Brann hosting Barcelona. As mentioned in the group stage recap, Brann has already had a successful campaign, never having made it to the last 16 prior to this. Now, they're in the quarterfinals. Barcelona, of course, is still unbeaten this entire season, and Brann going through to the next round would be one of the biggest upsets in UWCL history. Benfica proved that Barcelona isn't invincible, but Braun has an enormous hill to climb. We have a little wait until the quarterfinals kick off on March 19th, so check back then for a recap of the first quarterfinal matchups, as well as the NWSL Challenge Cup, which will see Gotham FC host San Diego Wave on March 15th.